Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video I'll show you how to make this leather notebook. I hope you will enjoy this video. If you do, as always, don't forget to hit subscribe, like this video, and let's get started. I'm making notebook A5 size, but you can do whatever size you want. Now to make this, you will need your stack of notebooks. So whatever you want to use, you have to have beforehand, just so you know how deep your notebook needs to be. Then you will need your piece of leather. I have A3 size and I'm gonna be making A5 size notebook. Then you will need piece of paper. This is a gift wrap because I don't have anything that's bigger, and it's also A3 size, and you will need this to draw a pattern for the holes we will be punching and etc. Then you will need this punch hole device, ruler, pen or pencil. Then you will need your eyelets. I'm gonna be using 3mm ones. Then you will need rotary cutter or just a very sharp knife. And then you will need elastic cord, which is 2mm, but you can choose any thickness you want. Just make sure that the eyelets are big enough. Now to begin with, you want to grab your piece of paper as well as your notebooks. What you will need to decide first is how you want your notebook to be. Depending how much leather you have, if you have a bit extra, you can kind of make it so that it wraps itself like this and these two overlap each other. If you don't have enough, yours can just be, as a regular notebook with no overlapping, and it would just be the size of your notebook. And I've just settled on my placement, so this is how mine is gonna wrap. And now what you need to do is to measure how tall your notebooks are. So I'm just gonna first mark where my notebook will be placed. And from here, I need to measure how tall it is. So just grab your ruler and measure it. Mine measures to 3 centimeters and 1mm. I think I'm just gonna go for 3.2 and measure that for this section here. Now I've got my middle part marked. This is where basically the eyelets are going to be. And now I'm just gonna see if this notebook fits, because I want this part to be entirely covered. And again, I'm gonna measure how tall the notebook is, which is again A5 size. And I'm gonna add 2mm on top of that, just so it's not as small as the notebook and it properly covers everything up. And I'm just gonna connect these two ends. Now my other side of the leather is gonna go all the way down, so I don't have to measure this part, I just have to draw a straight line. And this is how tall my notebook is going to be. Now I'm just gonna draw the center to make it a bit more visible. Now, just to explain it a bit, this part here is the notebook size. So it is A5, and I just added 2mm on top just to make sure that the leather covers notebooks in full. So that's my allowance. Then I've got this middle part. This is how tall my notebooks are. So it's 3.1 centimeters, but I chose to do 3.2, again, just in case. And the rest of this is whatever is gonna cover the back of the notebook and also will fold over the front. If you're not doing this after your middle section where your eyelets will go, you should just measure your notebook again for it to just cover the front and the back and be just like normal notebook, if that makes sense. Now I'm gonna cut this out, so I don't need this part. Now for the eyelets, I will be placing 3 in one row, and you need 2 rows to kind of thread your elastic cord. So basically, I had 3.2 for this length here. I need to place 3 eyelets. The inside of it measures to 3mm, but the outer layer together with the hole, obviously, it's 1/2 centimeter. So I first put my first one, so this measures to 1/2 centimeter, and then I evenly spread these two to the side, and I did the same down the bottom. And it basically takes up about centimeter and 2 or 3 millimeters, but this is the placement of mine. From the top, it's about 1 centimeter and 6 millimeters, and then this is gonna be the placement. So I actually punched holes so I can then transfer this to the leather, and then you're gonna do the same thing on the bottom as well, and that's gonna be your template. Now, just to double check this again, I'm gonna place all of my notebooks. I'm gonna wrap them up. This is how my whole placement looks like. When you have your template, you will need to attach it to your leather. If you don't have these clips, you can just use tape or place something heavier on top of it, and you can either draw a line where you need to cut or just use a ruler. I would recommend using ruler that's thicker than this, so I'm just gonna switch, and I'm gonna use this plastic one because it is thicker and it's gonna kind of hold my knife a bit better, not letting me to kind of make mistakes. And if you have any leftover leather, I would recommend to cut out a corner and try your eyelet out. So it worked for me. I used a 2 millimeter hole puncher, so it's smaller than the eyelet itself, and it was a bit tricky to push it in, but it worked. And I can find my same color, so the copper ends, so it will need to be silver because I don't want this to be silver on the right side, so it's gonna be silver on the wrong side though, because I can't find my ends. But anyway, so I tested this out, it worked, and I'll show you how you can also do this. But before that, you will need to cut your leather. Now, before I go and cut the actual piece, I'm just gonna try and see if I can cut with this rotary cutter. Okay, seems to be fine. I'm gonna go and cut the actual piece. Once you have your holes punched, you will need to punch another one right in the middle, because this is gonna be the hole for your elastic cord that's gonna close up your notebook. And I don't know if your tool is similar to this, but I wouldn't be able to punch hole here using this gun because it doesn't go that far, so this is as far as I can go. So I just basically rotated to my hole that I am using, and I'm just gonna try to punch the hole this way. So I'm just gonna set it up. Now this middle hole took a while, but I finally punched it, and now I'm gonna show you how to do the eyelets. Now, if your eyelet tool looks something like this, you will need a hammer. I don't have a hammer, I'm gonna be using a meat one, so yeah, just ignore that. But you might as well have different eyelet maker which doesn't require a hammer. This is what I've got, and I'll show you how I do it with this one. Now I had to go back and make the hole a bit bigger to get it through, and this is how it looks. Then you're gonna grab your bottom of the tool and your disc, and you will see that I'm not too sure if I can show you, but there is nice side and wrong side. Now this right side is a bit more rounded, while the wrong side looks like this. I hope you can tell a difference. And you want to put it right side down, like so. Then you're gonna put it underneath and through your eyelet, like so. Then you're gonna grab the other part, this long one that goes from the right side, and this is where you hammer it. Usually a couple of times is okay, so just try and see. and it did set it in place. So this is what you will do with all of these. I'm gonna do mine and I will meet you then. I've got my eyelets in now, and just before I assemble all of my elastic cords, I'm gonna round up the corners because I don't want them to be this 90-degree corner. So basically grab anything that's, you know, a perfect circle, push it to the corner and just draw like so. Do that with all of those. And I'm gonna cut it with fabric scissors because I don't think I can manage this curve. So I'm just gonna carefully cut it with scissors. Now I did the 2 cords already. I've got my third one, which I'll show you how to thread, and it measures to about 44 centimeters, but yours might be different just because of the spacing. So just don't cut it yet, thread it through and see how much you need and leave some allowance for the knots. And to thread it, just because I want the notebook to go into the clean one with no knot, I wanted to make a knot that goes through these 2 holes because this would be a bit too short for the notebook and this one is gonna be perfect. So you want the cord that doesn't have a knot to be coming from these holes. And to do that, I'm just basically gonna go through the top one from my wrong side, then through the bottom one from the right side. I'm gonna pull it on and I'm gonna do the same thing here. So I'm gonna go through the bottom one or the top one looking from here and into the bottom one. Like so. And this way your long one, so going from the outside holes, is without a knot. Then you're gonna tie these 2 together. And trim on the ends if you need. Now just to see if this works, I'm gonna grab my notebook, try to open it where the middle is, grab the first one and bring it in. Two. And this is how it will look. Now I would be able to fill in a bit more, so that's fine, but now I will need to measure the cord for the notebook itself, and you want this one to be a bit tighter so that it stays closed. Okay, I'm gonna cut it here, and by making a knot it's gonna become a bit more tight. Now I don't seem to fit it in, so I grabbed my needle with some thread and knot at the end. I'm gonna put my cable in between the threads like so, and I'm just gonna try to kind of pull on it, and I think this is going to work. So if your cord is a bit thick and you are struggling to fit it through, you can try this method as well. And all you have to do is to tie a knot. And this is how it will look. So you will then be using this to close it up, and this is it. Once you open it, you've got all of your notebooks just like that. And I also added this piece of plastic because I do collect receipts and stuff like that, so I think it's going to be useful for me. And and then you can just simply put this on to hold it together. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, don't forget to hit subscribe, like this video, and I'll see you in my next one.